Hello, this is Dr. Glasbrenner from George Mason University, and in this video, we will learn how to use the separate function from the tidier package to split a single column into many columns. The purpose of the separate function is to take the data in one column and split it into two or more columns. The structure of the separate function is as follows. We pipe the data set into the separate function, and first we specify the COL input, which is where we write the name of the column that needs to be separated into multiple columns. Next, we specify the into input, which takes a vector of text values. We can build a vector of text values using the combine function. The names in this vector are what the columns will be named after we have separated them. After this, we provide the SEP input, which is where we identify the textual symbols that separate the data within the column. Note that what we provide to the SEP input depends on the dataset. It will not always be a /. We will need to change this input to match the data at hand. To illustrate how the separate function works in practice, we will consider the contents of Table 3, which is another way to organize the same subset of data from the 2014 World Health Organization Global Tuberculosis Report that we used in the gather and spread examples. Here we see that we have three columns: country, year, and rate. Each cell under the rate column contains two pieces of information: the number of tuberculosis cases and the total population for each country for a given year. These values are separated by the / symbol. Storing data in the way shown does not satisfy the tidy data principles, hence we would classify it as untidy. As a reminder, this is what the same data set would look like if the table was organized according to the tidy data principles. Our task is to use the separate function to reshape our data in the table from the previous slide so that it looks like the table shown on this slide. This schematic illustrates how we will use the separate function to reshape Table 3. What we are doing here is taking the rate column and splitting it into two new columns. The split occurs along the / symbol. The values to the left of the / are placed under a new column named cases, and the values to the right of the / are placed under a new column named population. The / itself is removed. Note that this operation preserves all relationships in the data. Here is the code that implements the reshaping process we just saw in the schematic. We take Table 3 and pipe it into separate. For the COL input, we set it equal to rate, which is the column that we want to separate into multiple columns. For the into input, we set it equal to a vector containing the text values cases and population. We create the vector using the combine function. We execute the commands and we end up with the following table. This is the same as the tidy version of the table we saw earlier, so we have achieved our goal of making Table 3 tidy. Note that we omitted the SEP input. If we do not specify it, then the separate function attempts to detect separating symbols on its own. Here we see that it was able to figure out that the separating symbol was the /. If we want to be explicit about the symbol to use, then for the SEP input, we would give the / surrounded by double quotes. By giving the input explicitly, we are documenting the precise symbol that we are splitting over. Also note that if separate fails to figure out what to use on its own, then we are required to provide the symbol we want to use. There is a fourth input that we can also use, the convert input, which can be set equal to either true or false. By default, the convert input is set to false. This means that any separated columns will be automatically encoded as the character data type. If we set it to true, then we are telling the separate function that it should try to figure out the data type of the newly separated columns. For this example, the cases and population columns will be detected as containing integers, and they will be updated to the integer data type.